Okay, so quadratic formula, first step is to make sure it's equal to 0. Yes, good. All right, so we're ready to do ABC. A is 9, B is -2, and C is 4. It's nice that those are in alphabetical order, right? The discriminant is our next step, and the discriminant is the part underneath the radical. And so that is B squared minus 4AC. So let's see what we get when we plug in. We have B is -2, so -2 squared minus 4 times A is 9 times C is 4. Okay, be sure if you're depending on your calculator, be sure to tell your calculator to use parentheses, like to square the whole thing. You got to use parentheses or it will not give you the right answer. So be in charge there. All right, let's see what we get for the discriminant. Okay, so we get -140 for the discriminant, and so we've got D is -140. Okay, when we get a negative number, that means we're going to get two complex solutions. That just means you might even say two imaginary solutions. So let's go ahead and find the square root of a positive 140 because our discriminant is, it's underneath that radical. So I'm going to get the positive value. We've got a negative, so we have to keep that in mind. But I'm going to go ahead and see, okay, the square root of 140. So the square root of the discriminant is the square root of -140. And that is going to be 2i times the square root of 35. Okay, so 2 squared root of 35 is for the positive, and I have to put the I in for the imaginary because it's a negative. So the negative underneath gives us that. Okay, so let's use that. And let me move this over. And let's do the quadratic formula. So it is -b plus or minus the square root of the discriminant over 2a. Remember, all of this is just the discriminant and it's the square root of that. So that makes this a lot simpler kind of equation to fill in. All right, -b. Well, b is -2. So -2 means that it's +2 plus or minus square root of the discriminant we just found. It's 2i times the square root of 35 over 2a, and a is 9, so 2 times 9. Okay, now I'm actually going to leave it 2 times 9. I'm not even going to change it to 18 because when you do these, you want to see if you can simplify the fraction. And let me point out what you're going to be able to simplify and what you're not going to be able to simplify. The numbers that are outside of the radical, you can simplify. If they're underneath this radical or square root symbol, however you want to think of it, then that's not going to reduce. So I'm just looking at the 2, 2, 2, and 9 and think, well, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So all those 2's can all sort of cancel. And so we're left with 2 divided by 2 is 1. So we're left with a 1 there, a plus or minus, a 1 here, but it won't get included because we just have the I. So we'll just put 1i as I. Square root of 35. That part's not going to go away or change. And then 1 times 9 is just 9. And that is the solution, or actually those are the two solutions because one's with a plus and one's with a minus. We just write it plus or minus like that. So simply, it's crazy that you can get through all of this and you get to the very end, and that can often be the hardest part of it to me. I find students really, really have a hard time with this part. So you may want to watch that part again and think about how I did that. If you want to stick around, I can show you this split apart. Maybe that would be helpful. Think about that it was 2 over 2 times 9 plus or minus 2i square root of 35 over 2 times 9. You can split that fraction apart if it helps you. That means the 2's cancel. You're left with a 9 on the bottom. Plus or minus, these 2's cancel. And so you're adding a fraction with the same denominator. That means that denominator is still there. And you just have 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So you've got 1i square root of 35. I don't know. Depends on your understanding of fractions, whether that will be helpful or not. But I hope that these examples are helpful to you. See you in the next one.